All right, let's jump right into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking the incredibly paradoxical but absolutely fascinating world of billionaire entrepreneur Christian Angermayer. Drawing from his recent deep dive interview on the Diary of a CEO, we're going to explore his highly unconventional views on biotech, the future of wealth, and his multi-million-dollar pursuit of actually living forever. And this is our first massive contradiction. Think about it. The guy has never had a drop of alcohol, not even a cup of coffee. Yet he is arguably the biggest driving force in psychedelic biotech today. I mean, how does someone who aggressively protects his baseline happiness by avoiding all conventional substances become the foundational investor in the psychedelic mental health industry? It's wild. Section 1. The Relentless Optimist. From rural Bavaria to boardrooms. So where does this worldview actually come from? Well, it started with a ridiculously happy, completely free childhood. He grew up in a tiny Bavarian village, we're talking 90 people total, just wandering around safely from dawn till dusk. And you know, that idyllic setting forged this deep sense of joy that essentially fueled his innate entrepreneurial drive. The kid was constantly turning his environment into a business. At just 6 years old, literally as soon as he could write, he was invoicing his mom for garden salads. By 14, he's running a highly lucrative tutoring business with 10 employees. And by 16, to creatively get out of mandatory civil service, he lands a hospital job and ends up managing stock portfolios for the doctors. You really can't make this stuff up. The really crucial takeaway here is his absolute, deep-seated belief in relentless optimism and visualization. He has this core philosophy, whatever you think and expect, you're attracting that. And that whole mindset, it was actually sparked by a totally chance encounter with the book Think and Grow Rich in a Munich bookstore when he was just 14 years old. He basically decided right then and there that actively expecting positive outcomes and strictly filtering out the negative literally draws success into reality. Section 2. The Sober Psychedelic Investor. A Transformative Trip. Okay, so how did the completely sober guy get into psychedelics? It all started at a dinner party. He ended up seated next to a top German neuroscientist, a really prominent drug researcher. And this scientist turns to Angermayer and says, you know, you should absolutely avoid alcohol, but you should actually try magic mushrooms. Just imagine hearing that when you don't even drink tea. But the scientist pushed him to look past the societal biases and just focus on the clinical data. And what convinced him was this exact harm scale. The science clearly showed that alcohol is incredibly toxic to both the user and society, literally scoring right up there with heroin. Meanwhile, psychedelics like LSD and magic mushrooms, they present minimal risk. So it kind of clicked for him. The legal substances we casually consume every single day are actually highly dangerous, while these illegal compounds have extraordinary potential upside with barely any physical harm. So let's track how the serendipity actually played out step by step. Armed with this new research, he takes the plunge and has a transformative first mushroom trip on a legal beach in the Caribbean, and it just confirmed his entire life path. Then, during a later trip, he has this deep internal realization, like a mission, that he absolutely has to speak openly about these benefits. Following that gut feeling, he casually mentions it to his friend, mega investor Mike Novogratz. Now, Novogratz had coincidentally just heard about two founders who needed funding to legalize magic mushrooms. That one-chance conversation directly led to Christian funding Compass Pathways, and eventually creating ATAI Life Sciences, which effectively launched the multi-billion-dollar mental health industry we see today. But today, it goes way beyond just magic mushrooms. ATAI Life Sciences is actually exploring over 13 different psychedelic compounds. One that he's incredibly focused on is ibogaine. He firmly believes this drug could potentially cure severe, life-destroying addictions, specifically the absolute catastrophe that is the opioid crisis, and often with just a single closely monitored trip. Just think about why this matters for a second. We're talking about fundamentally rewiring how our entire society treats severe mental illness and addiction. It's a real game changer. Section 3. Curing the aging disease. Escaping evolutionary velocity. Now we're diving into his absolute refusal to accept death as natural. He brilliantly frames aging not as some inevitable process, but as a biological error. Think about it. By definition, your original DNA construction plan at age 20 is the exact same DNA you have at age 80. The issue is simply the cellular translation. It's kind of like tiny construction minions misreading your DNA's blueprint over time. And because it's just a biological translation error, Angermayer argues it can technically be cured and reversed. He literally views aging as a disease, one that science is eventually going to solve. But, you know, until biotech actually catches up, he's relying on a pretty hardcore routine just to buy himself extra years. Get this, 42 daily supplement pills, 16 to 18 hours of intermittent fasting every single day just to normalize blood sugar, strict sleep optimization, waking up naturally, absolutely no alarm clocks, zero alcohol, zero sugar, and mild daily exercise, usually 20 to 30 minutes. He's essentially treating his body like a perfectly calibrated machine, optimizing everything to survive long enough for science to offer true biological rejuvenation.
Section 4. Bitcoin and Future Wealth. Protecting Assets in a Fiat Crisis.
All right, shifting gears to his financial thesis for the next decade, which is heavily centered on the rapid devaluation of global fiat currencies, basically endless money printing by global governments. The crucial takeaway here is how we view stores of value. For past generations, gold was the historical, agreed-upon asset, right? But ultimately, gold is just a social convention. Today, for the new generation, Bitcoin has become the pop culture modern store of value. He makes the case that Bitcoin has effectively replaced gold as the ultimate safe haven for the digital age, acting as this vital protection asset when cash is just rapidly losing its purchasing power. Section 5. The Happiness Operating System. Engineering Joy. So let's tie all this together by looking at the strict daily operating system he uses to maintain that unshakable happiness and mental clarity in what is, let's face it, a pretty chaotic world. He rigorously curates his mental diet with a few hard rules. First, he will never watch a horror movie or any film without a happy ending. Second, he actively refuses to entertain friends who repeatedly complain without actually seeking a solution. And maybe the most powerful one, he believes you have the millisecond by millisecond power to simply decide not to be hurt by the negative actions of others. It's a conscious, engineered choice to not let external forces drag down your baseline joy. At his core, he warns us that our rapidly advancing technological age is stripping away our foundational human needs. He argues that true happiness really relies entirely on three pillars. First, faith, believing in a higher meaning or eternal soul to offset the sheer terror of death. Second, purpose, having a clear reason to wake up and actually contribute to the world. And third, love, fostering deep community and interpersonal connections. Without those three pillars firmly in place, he says no amount of wealth or technology is ever going to make you fulfilled. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a really provocative thought directly inspired by Christian's philosophy. If you could live to 150, how would you redesign your life today? Would you change your career, your relationships, your daily habits? If science genuinely gives you another 100 years, are you truly happy with the path you're walking right now? It's a fascinating question to ponder. Ultimately, what you should take away from this is that your happiness and your longevity are largely in your own hands. Thanks for exploring this with me, and keep questioning the impossible.